thank you for being with us today.
Morning.
In our stand. I would like to make two questions for you.
Right.
You are known all around the world about your involvement with diaspora. So everyone in the world knows you. And that means that you also know about where diasporas in the world are and what their issues are. So what do you think about Albanian diaspora being, that unique thing that you think it might have, if any? And is there any similarities of Albanian diaspora context with other countries?
That's a great question. And, obviously Albania's got some distinctive characteristics to do with its past, its history, its politics, the different countries it's engaged in, which makes it unique. And obviously will need solutions and policies and strategies that work for Albania. But my point, and based on my experience working with 30 countries around the world, is there's a lot of similarities. That diaspora engagement is quite similar country to country. Here's an interesting thing. It's a non-competitive industry. Somebody who's going to help my country, Ireland or Scotland or New Zealand, is not going to help Albania and vice versa. So we should exchange ideas and we should look at other countries and see what programs work there and would they work here in Albania. An example from Ireland would be Connect Ireland, which you're looking at, and I think it's a really excellent example. Connect Ireland can work in many countries. Another example would be the program in Israel they have called Taglit, where they bring young Jewish people from around the world, come back to Israel, and they come back for 10 days, kids aged between 18 and 26, and many countries now do a Taglit type program. So there's a great opportunity, I call it, to copy and steal everything, right? To find out what works in one country and see would it work in my country. That's why things like today are important. That's why when you visited Ireland, it's important because you saw the variety of programs we have. Last week, I was in Scotland and I was telling them about our programs. The week before, I was in Bosnia. And in Bosnia, they were looking at programs we're doing in Ireland. Another example is we had some years ago a project called The Gathering. We invited the Irish diaspora to come back on holidays, and 300,000 came back. People who had never come before, but because they were invited, they said, this year we're going to come. Now, any country can do a gathering. And that's the exciting thing about diaspora and diaspora engagement. What works in one country can often work in another country. And I think what you're doing in Albania, you are doing an audit of other countries, and then you will pick the winning projects and apply them here.
Thank you very much. These are great ideas that you give and present about the similarities with Albania. I had another question, a last question about, we have started as IOM Albania a program focused exactly on engaging, helping the government, Albania's government, to enhance diaspora contribution and engagement to the development of the country. With what you know about the program, how do you think it can be really sustainable so that it can last and it can create actually sustainable growth and economic development?
Well, I think the important thing is for government and people and media to realize that diaspora equals jobs. Mm-hmm. If you get your diaspora strategies correct, you will create jobs, employment, prosperity here. But you need to have lots of different programs. So you need to have what we call diaspora capital. You have diaspora capital. And that's the resources available to Albania. And it's about three flows of people, flows of knowledge, and flows of money. And you need to have programs in the areas of tourism, investment, exporting, culture, sports, volunteering, mentoring.
Many areas.
Lots of areas.
Mm-hmm.
So there's lots of things you can do. And every policy in the government should have a diaspora dimension. Agriculture, law, all these policies, there should be a little piece of diaspora in each one of them. And that becomes the whole strategy.
And
becomes powerful.
Sustainable.
Exactly.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Martin.
Morning, how are you?
Thanks for joining us in our stand in Albania's second summit of diaspora in this IOM place. Perfect. It's great to have you here, and I would like to make two questions for you. First of all, you know about diasporas around the world. What do you think is something that Albanian diaspora has that is unique, if any, and any similarities?
It's a great question, first of all. Look, it's great to be here, and when you look around the energy in the room, part of the answer is in this room of what's unique, you know, and when you look at it, the power of the connections, but also the demographics of your diaspora are incredibly unique. When you look at the amount of people within the Albanian diaspora compared to the number of people in the home country. And when you see rooms like this and the energy of ideas and connections that can happen, I think that's quite unique. And in terms of similarities, the exciting thing about what's happening from today into what's happening into the future, particularly with your own program, is that, you know, in our diaspora engagement activities, there are only certain types of activities that we can begin to do at the early stages of our engagement. So things like skills transfer, knowledge transfer, and human capital, but also economic capital. And I think one of the most interesting things about the program going forward and the work of the government in Albania is helping to build that community infrastructure abroad and talking to their diaspora and listening to them. And I think if we can bring those elements together, not only will we be able to capitalize on the similarities, but also begin to really strengthen those unique features. So I think the quick answer is demographic and potential.
Thank you, great. And my second question is about the program. You know, IOM is working with the Albanian government and with the support of the Italian government. The program focused on diaspora engagement that you are working with, and you are working with the revising the government's diaspora strategy. I would like to know your thoughts about, you know, this program. What is this program creating towards sustainability, so that things that the program creates continue, the economic growth continues and is sustainable?
I think it's a really important question, and here's why. Two hard realities of this world of diaspora engagement is that most diaspora engagement fails, you know, and we got to accept that. We have to look at why that is the case, and also, I mean, the second component of why that sustainability question is important to what's happening in Albania is that this is very much the beginning of the process in Albania. And here's what's really important about your program and your project, particularly through implementing agents such as the IOM, but also through the donors that you work with. So in this case, the Italian Agency for Development Cooperation. You know, we live in a world where migration is seen as so negative, you know, and it has this toxic connotation. But yet when people talk about diaspora, they know it's related to migration. I jokingly say it's the first cousin of migration. You know, so the work that's being done, particularly by the donors in this case, you know, is stepping away from, you know, just talking about that negativity of migration, but actually putting things into action. And I think the Italian Agency for Development Cooperation deserve a lot of credit for that. And it's a unique opportunity in the region to go from talking about doing something to actually implementing something. So, question of sustainability, how do you do it? You know, and this is from some of my reflections, having had 4 or 5 visits as part of the project to Tirana. So I have more stamps to Tirana than anywhere else in the world on my passport. And I think what's really interesting for me is that everybody is on the same page. You know, we understand that there's a role for government in this. We understand that there's a role for the private sector in this. And also those organizations that operate between those. You know, so whether they're civil society, you know, advocacy groups, whatever it is. And I think the sustainability of this project will be, you know, not just nurturing those connections, but doing it under the key pillars of skills transfer, economic development, and also training the government and upskilling the government, because diaspora engagement is a skill. We can write the strategy, we can write a really interesting action plan, but unless you get those building blocks in place, I think that the sustainability will be difficult. So I commend you on your project. I think it's exciting times, and I look forward to seeing the second project program.
Great. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, appreciate it. Thank you.